important part of transforming your classroom is the feedback loop. It is always important to gather feedback and then reflection. And this has to do with the students reflecting on themselves, on their peers, and on their teacher. I always liked this quote: whoever teaches learns in the act of teaching, and whoever learns teaches in the act of learning. So a couple different things you want to think about is, sometimes you just want small, short, little feedback pieces. And then other times you might want to have a more full feedback for maybe a quarter or a term. Depending on your level, whether it's elementary, middle school, or high school, you can adapt, but think about the different parts you want to get from your students. One of the things I like to think about is how they value themselves. What do they see? Where do they see their strengths are? Where do they see they need to improve? One of the things I focus on, so think about how you have your classroom set up and what do you focus on that maybe is outside of the academic content. For example, I like to look at how the students collaborate with others, how they're determined, how they're innovative, and how they provide leadership. So I have them rate themselves. I have them explain why they would deserve that. I'd like to also find out that they are okay with mistakes. So I might say, what mistakes did you make that help you learn? Again, to remind ourselves that making mistakes is the learning process. I also feel it's important for them to recognize their peers. What are they noticing about their peers? Not only is it good for them to recognize, sometimes I find out what some peers are doing for them that I didn't know was occurring. And then what are some things that helped them learn? Now this is going to help give me feedback on what's working for them. And I always ask, some kind of thing I can do to improve. So this is just an example of how I've set up a kind of after like a unit or every couple weeks to get feedback from the students in those areas. I also, at the end of a quarter, maybe get more feedback. Now this I created using Google Forms. Again, depending what level you're teaching or what you have time or what access to, you can do this in many different ways. I, again, evaluate them the same way on their leadership, collaboration, determination, and innovation. Again, linking them to your 21st century skills, you maybe want to look at those and have them evaluate themselves on that. I always have them nominate their peers for these different awards. And then I like to, recognize and recognize what their peers are saying, not just what I see. And what are their takeaways from the class? Again, getting information about the activities that help them, what's something they could understand and explain to others, something that is not related to math that maybe they learned in this class. Again, maybe they'll start telling you things, oh yeah, I learned this that has to do with 21st century learning. And then of course the evaluation of me. And I like to get evaluation of me and always give them space to add more information. I look at their feedback. So I looked and, some people like the notes and getting both a visual and a definition helped. Computers and one-on-one examples. Some people like the games. Some didn't feel they learned with Alice, but they knew notes and example problems helped. Doing the notes on the internet and describing multiple times so they can remember. So I took that feedback and then I looked at some other feedback regarding they liked working in small groups. They liked it because they could help each other. They were maybe moving at the same pace. But you're always going to have some people who maybe don't like it. So I had one team work mostly, but then someone else do things as a class. So they liked it with a class. And there was also that one-on-one time. They talked about how they liked hands-on. Some really liked the Alice project. Or they like doing individual projects, and they like being able to focus on something. Some people didn't feel Alice helped them. Another reminder to be patient. And so all of this feedback I put together, and it made me think, okay, how can I do group work, individual projects, have them have videos, include images, be able to play games, and incorporate all the different learning styles and things they enjoyed with the different parts they used on the computer for this unit. It was from this feedback that gave me the idea of coming up with having the students create the different parts of a website to teach the algebra concepts. So they could use and include the visuals, the auditory, the, what I say, the movement, maybe by playing games, and add some feelings or emotions. So then they could come up with content for the web page, add the humor to it, define the terms and concepts, and they can use colors. Then they can use videos to help understand how to apply the concepts, and they can find videos. And then last, they're going to create their own practice problems, whether they created a video, a presentation, a Prezi, or created an Alice program where they could write the computer code to see if people understood their concept and check by asking different questions. This website then could be used for them to teach a small group so that they would each have different levels, and then that's why I did the website, so that they could maybe this could meet the needs identified in their feedback. You're always going to have some feedback that is a little confusing, like this one, nothing we did help me learn, but the other hand, they said, keep doing what I'm doing. You're also going to have feedback that while they didn't like it, you know that it's something that is necessary to help them grow as learners. So you always have to look at your feedback and really, think about, well, how does this affect what I change, or if I don't need to change it? Recognize the peers. I like to sometimes do awards. You could do a certificate or something that is kind of directing them towards evaluating themselves and their peers, and then recognizing their peers when they do something. So here's just a little clip of, if you have time, you can put a video together, or I found that this was too much, so I'm not able to do this every quarter. So now I'm going to certificates to give the students. And I like to take the time where the students read what other students might have said about them and enjoy it. So maybe on the certificate you put something that was said about them, why they got that award. I can't explain how much I saw growth when the students found out they were recognized by their peers and truly had an impact on their community. Again, building that community towards those 21st century learning opportunities. Your assignment is going to be to develop some feedback, ways to get feedback. Think about how you can develop a tool to get feedback either on themselves, on their peers, and you. And how can you use that feedback? Maybe sometimes this form you see here, I adjust. If it's like after a certain project, I just want to get some information about a certain project, so I incorporate questions. What did you like best about the project? What could have gone better? So think about how could you set up an example feedback form for a short-term pieces of information, or you could design one for at the end of the quarter. Maybe you want to try out a Google form.